Jack's mom tells this mom, you brought this poison to her house. Get her out of here.
What?
And then as she's leaving, Chloe looks at her like, yeah, I'm evil and I know that. And then she...
Evil smirk in place.
Yeah, and so then the mom slaps her.
Grab some popcorn and stick around. We've got some garbage to talk about.
Hi, Yella.
Hello, Zax. What's up?
Well, this is an oldie, but maybe you remember it. Lifetime movie that we're finally gonna talk about because it's back on the Lifetime Movie Club.
Huzzah.
This is Deadly Exchange, and this is kind of, this happens a lot in Lifetime where newcomer becomes part of family, has nefarious desires.
Yes.
And this is where an exchange student has some weird desires.
Weird or weird?
Well...
Or deadly? Probably that one, considering the title, but...
Yes, I would say that, like, had they not gone about things the way they did, and if they had exercised a bit of patience, which Lifetime people just cannot seem to do.
Listen, if that person is going to stand in my way for the next 2 seconds, they will be dead. They will be a corpse on the floor.
Yeah, it's pretty... I don't know how to word this because it starts off like... where, you know, this is one of those kind of like... which was it called? Oh, Psycho Mother-in-Law. It kind of starts off that way where they immediately let you know this person is evil. Mm-hmm. But then they try to... As things happen in the future, they would like it to be a twist. I guess, like, it's painted in that way where, not so much that you want to sympathize with her, but you can understand why some people would be suspicious of her and some people wouldn't be. And they didn't really develop the suspicion that well at all, so I guess that's why they felt that they needed to include the giveaway in the beginning. But it kind of left just a sour... I was like, you know, honestly, things really didn't need to go where they are right now, unless you know the murder that happened before she got on a plane.
I mean, isn't that like just general a Lifetime thing where it's like, this didn't need to go like this? Like, a lot of this is just incredibly unnecessary.
Well, yeah, no, like, the murder is always unnecessary. But
I mean, that's kind of a given, but even then,
Yeah, I guess I'm getting ahead of myself. So let's
begin at the beginning where we have an opening scene that... Yeah. Okay, let me guess. Let me do a quick guess. Is it once more one of those things where we see some sort of gruesome scene or the hints of some sort of gruesome event, and then we go over to happy music and a nice introductory scene of the town/city we are in before meeting our main protagonist?
Well, okay, so a little bit of both, actually. So it starts with a lot of B-roll. I think this is supposed to be in England, because, I don't know, the buildings kind of look British. I really don't know. But I'm assuming, because then we end in a big, I don't know if you'd call it a manor, if that's just like, it's a really big place, and it's kind of all by itself. Mm-hmm. So I think it's like a manor. It kind of I'm just thinking of like Black Butler, and it kind of looks like where CL lived. But anyway, we go inside, and this man is coming in from the back, and he sees this girl sitting there, and he's like, "Oh, hi, Rose. I didn't expect to see you. And she's like, yeah, I know, because you haven't checked on me in the last 10 years. I've been going in and out of foster homes, or orphanages, I think they say, orphanages. And he's like, oh, well, it happened how it happened, but how are you doing? And he's really
it happened how it happened.
It's just kind of real, it's real awkward. That much is going on.
Yeah, no, I mean, from what you can gather, context clues, it makes sense that the whole exchange is incredibly awkward.
Yeah. So then he says, Rose, I'm so sorry that, they never found your mother's killer. And then she says, oh, but they did. He just never got convicted. And then, and they've been showing this beforehand, but I saved it a little bit. She's been holding a meat mallet behind her back this whole time that they're talking.
Is somebody going to become nice, juicy, and tender?
Yeah, he is, because we watch her, easily get the jump on him. Now, I know he wasn't expecting a murder, but you'd already been on edge, and, you were closer to, the door you came in, and, I feel like he kind of let her kill him. I don't know if I would give her all the prowess on this one. Not that... I'm sure, we'll see. She's very capable of murdering on her own. But in this case, I feel like he kind of let her...
Okay.
I don't think she can count this as, a true victory, is what I'm saying.
Dang.
I wouldn't.
It feels so bad when people just kind of let you win,
Yeah, he had no resolve. It's like he wasn't even trying to live.
He wasn't even trying to live. What is that?
Also, I will say this is one of those things where her tone immediately, sometimes with these, they're not as brazen, but as soon as he walked in, her tone, I would be like, oh. Just especially because of the context, haven't seen this chick in 10 years, and the way she's looking at me is a little unhinged, and the way she's speaking to me is like that sort of
There's just all sorts of flags, most of them a very bright vermilion.
Yes, exactly. So... But forget about that. Now let's see this fun, happy cafe in America.
Of course.
We get some nice exposition. The mom character, I believe her name... I'm not even going to try. The mom character...
They're all the same anyway, so who cares?
Yeah. She, she loves her daughter. She's running a cafe, and we learn a little bit about about all the dynamics that are going to matter for this whole movie. There's this guy sitting at the other corner of the cafe, and she just poured him some coffee and said hi, and she left. And everybody is like, when are you gonna sleep with this guy already? Even her daughter and brother. They're not that. They want them to date. It's not really they're no one's you need to get laid. Although kind of her friend, who also works with, or whatever, her assistant manager, whatever, is I don't think anybody really says it yet, but as we learn going in, they had a tragic death of their husband, father, and daughter, sister. So 2 relatives are down for the count. So now they're getting a foreign exchange.
The movie hasn't even started properly yet, and there's already so many people dead.
Yeah, there's a real body count to this movie. I don't think we can blame their deaths on the foreign exchange student, but I'm willing to accept, some fan theories about that.
Yeah. I mean, it would be in character.
So everyone is, the friend is basically you need to get back out there. he's been dead long enough.
Oh my god.
No one says that, but that's kind of like the vibe we're getting.
Okay.
Yeah, and then
Can
the
you
daughter...
imagine that? Can you imagine that had been like an actual line?
Yeah, I know. Just like, come on, get over it.
Yeah, come on. There's definitely like a given period for mourning.
Yeah. Then the daughter comes out and she has a boyfriend, Jack, and Jack is very tech savvy. We know that because he's helping with her payment system for the cafe. And he's like, oh yeah, it's real simple. All you need to do is tech blah blah blah, tech blah blah blah, tech blah blah blah. And then she's like, you lost me at this is simple. And it's like,
hilarious.
But then what's also funny about this is like right after she said, this is just, I get the movie's moving along. I understand that we weren't really going to get like a sit down tech session. But at the same time, after she's like, you lost me at this is simple, then him and her daughter Blake just kind of leave. And I'm like,
there could have been like something to kind of further the, like, you could have at the very least, I feel like, been like, they could have been like, have the guy say something like, don't worry, I'll write it down, or I'll write something down. Like, that feels like you would have like, a reason to go, like it would be fine, like there would still be some sort of resolution to that little tiny minuscule, not really a plot point.
Yeah, exactly. But they're just
like, that's like, I feel like that's what I would do. I would be like, oh, don't worry, I'll you know what, I'll write it down or something.
Yeah. But then they all leave because they need to get things ready for their new exchange student. Oh. No. Yeah, okay, yeah. No. That's fine. So they go home and they make this banner that, when we watch it together, I'll show you. The banner is much bigger than the writing they put on. Like, they just put welcome. They put welcome Chloe, and they put a little American flag and a little British flag. And I just have like a few problems with this because... Well, because the American flag is first, and you read left to right in English. Yeah. And so
in most European languages, yes.
Yeah.
In most languages, I think, actually.
Yeah, I mean, like Arabic and stuff is like right to left, but in this case, but I can't think of all the languages. And I think some languages you go like up and down, maybe.
I think in some cases Japanese you go up down first.
Okay. Either way.
Depending on like the medium in a way as well. From what I know, I'm not an expert. I'm not a linguist.
Yeah, me either. I just wanted to try and include all the directions.
Up and down and all around. It's fine.
Yeah, if you can see it, you can read it. That's not really...
That's not really anything.
I'm gonna leave that there.
Okay.
Not unpack it. Okay, but I just feel for me, because they're all speaking English, it should be British flag because that's where you were, to American flag because that's where you are now.
You know what? That's fair assessment.
That's just me. But I guess maybe they want...
I agree with the idea, yeah.
But I guess they want her to read it as, welcome, Chloe, American flag, you're here now. British flag, that's where you just were. I don't quite... Like, I don't really understand personally putting either flag on there. That's maybe just me. Like, maybe just a nice... just the words would be enough for me. Then again, I don't know. They also took the time to put like 13 stripes and 50 stars on the American flag. Oh my god. They went all British... out on that. Yeah, but it's so small. I'm like, look, if you guys would have just put welcome Chloe, and maybe more time because the well is a lot bigger and then the C on gets a lot smaller. So it's like, welcome Chloe.
there's just many things to criticize about this banner.
Yeah, like you could have gotten a stencil. It looks like it was all on hand. And part of me is like, oh, maybe they just wanted it to seem like real teenagers do it. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was their justification after the fact.
Yeah.
But
I mean, like you said, you could have just gotten a stencil. Like that's not different. You can just print like a letter on a piece of paper and cut it out or something. Boom, you have a stencil. You can use that.
There are companies that do a print. Oh. There are companies that do like banner prints or whatever for however much. I'm sure a movie
but
could.
even if you do want it to look like self-made, you can still like people can make stencils. You can get stencils too.
Especially because on Pinterest they should this is a lot of time I understand to devote to this banner, but they made a big deal because they were all at the cafe and they all leave together to go to this home just to hang up this banner and I'm assuming make it. It's a lot of setup, but the real thing we're supposed to take away from this scene is that Jack is like, if she wants to go to state school here, then that's where I'll go to college too. Jack, and Blake is the daughter they're dating. And she's like, I'm not sure where I'm going to go to college. I don't even know if I'm going to graduate because of that year that the doctors had me zoned out on benzos. And it's like, I mean, I don't think the way she words it was almost like they were just like, hey, you're not gonna be conscious at all. We're gonna, and I'm assuming those medications served a purpose and they were prescribed. Presumably,
like that's the thing you hope for. That's how the system is supposed to work.
I love the idea of her like, I gotta
the doctor's just kind of, I just like the idea now of the doctor's just picking randomly picking her off the street, being like, okay, you're gonna be on this medication for a year now and not function at all. Question mark.
And then, I know, so.
Like, the way that it has, like, zero context just makes it very weird. I'm honestly kind of questioning, and maybe this is addressed, but is it ever kind of addressed why she was on medication for a year and all that?
The implication was, she fell into a heavy depression after, the loss of her dad and sister, and that's why she was prescribed the medication.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but then. One thing I will say is a lot of Lifetime movies kind of have a lot of lulls. This one tries its best to avoid lulls. There's a pointless B plot, which can only be called a B plot because it doesn't connect to anything else.
Oh.
In fact, there's an opportunity where it can be relevant to other things, and they are just like, or not. And that's what the dialogue leads me to believe about it.
That they had an opportunity to make it relevant to the main plot and we're just like, nah.
Yeah. Really? So, and that's something we're going to talk about that's happened at least in Lifetime movies that we've watched together, if not ones we've already covered. Actually, no. I can think of one where we did cover that had a thing like this going on too. I don't know why Lifetime thinks property is so interesting, but we'll get to that shortly. So, Chloe, Rose, as we once knew her, but now her name is Chloe, she arrives, and it's
the exchange student.
It's also weird too because the way they film it, were we thinking a different British person was going to get in the car out of the cab to the exchange program? I don't know why we would have met her if she wasn't who we were going to be spending more time with. But she gets out of the car and then she looks at the mom through the window and she's like, ooh, spitting image, and she smiles to herself and heads inside, and it's like, okay, right. Then we meet this woman, and she The mom's name is Samantha, by the way. Okay. I'm glad I got it eventually. Mm-hmm. She is, she's working. This woman comes up to her, and this woman looks like a caricature. This does not look... Everyone else looks basically realistic, and this woman comes in, and it looks like if it was in, like, a Spot the Difference thing in a kid's magazine... Who's from a different time period, almost. Oh. This woman. Like, she's got, like, a little hat on and a lot of sweaters and stuff. She just does not... Like, she doesn't look like it's the right weather for what she's wearing. It doesn't look like the right, like I said, time period for this woman. But she wants to do an expose on the new exchange student for the... Town Herald, she says, expose. She wants to do it like a cover story because she does all the social news for the Herald.
Just the Herald.
The Herald, yes.
Wow. You could have... I feel like that has to be the most, like, uninspired name for, like, a local newspaper I have ever heard.
Yeah, the other thing, too, is it's, like, very clearly filmed in, like, a suburban part of California with, like, a lot of houses and, like, big, like, a California town would imply, but they keep treating it, like, even the music they use keeps treating this like a whimsical small town. Like, it's Gilmore Girls Stars Hollow or something. But it's like... Guys, I mean, just this street alone, I think, has a head count of, like, over 300 on this block. Like, what are you doing? It's not that small a town. Especially because when we go to the public school, like, it's so full of people, too.
Yeah, which means there have to be, like, at least that many, like, family homes.
Yeah.
You would imagine.
So everyone's really excited that Chloe's coming in, and
apparently nothing ever happens there, so...
Yeah, apparently. Well, here's red flag number 1. Samantha, the mom, is like, okay, well, let me know if you need anything. I hope you get settled in here. Mm-hmm. And she's like, by the way... This is Chloe, the exchange student. I'm not going to even try to do a British accent for her.
That's fine.
Okay, but she's like, by the way, Blake told me about everything. I'm so sorry for your loss. And she's like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I appreciate that. But, like, it's very clear that was not the conversation she was expecting to have, especially since she was about to leave the room. And then she's like, I can understand, I lost my best friend, to death. And then she's like, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. And she looks, I don't know if she's supposed to look like this, but the actress playing the mom looks so annoyed and dismissive of this whole conversation. Oh. She is just, like, she's just not having it at all. She's like, oh, yeah. Totally. I get that, but... And, like, even the way, like, her mouth curves, it's just like, okay, are you done talking? Because I'm trying to leave here. You are a foreign exchange student. I don't know. Like,
End of thought. Bye.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say to you.
Wow.
But then she's like, but I just feel like... Then the British girl's like, I think everything's about to change for the better. And then she's like, yep, couldn't agree more. Bye. And then she leaves.
Wow.
So then the next morning, it's a first day of school. Or whatever it is. Maybe she's been there for a lot longer. And
it is a school day.
Yeah. They're going to go to school, and Blake comes in, and she's got her hair in a bun, and she's wearing, like, I think it's a fine sweater. I watched it with Rogue, and Rogue was like, I would have owned that sweater. It looked fine. It didn't even really look bad. But Chloe was not having it, and she was like, you got a second. And so she puts her in, like, this outfit with, like, a nice, tight black dress and pumps. Or heels of some kind that I'm like, it's a cute outfit, like, I wouldn't even really be opposed to, like, the dress or anything. It was more just like, but you're gonna be, like, walking around an awful lot. How close are your classes to each other? That you're gonna be wearing these statement heels all day? I don't know if people actually did that in high school, but I never knew anyone who wore, like, full-on heels to school.
I mean, neither did I, so...
Yeah, it was just a bit much for me. But either way, it makes an impression. One guy's even like,
for sure.
I didn't... Yeah. One guy even says to his friend, they're, I believe, the popular kids, but they're looking at her. But also, they're wearing much simpler outfits. Like, one girl's wearing overalls with, like, a cute top, and another girl's wearing, like, a shirt and a skirt, but, like, it's not, like, this kind of... You know how some high schools make it sound like all the girls wear, like, elite couture all the time?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
These popular kids are just kind of wearing clothes.
Yeah.
So they're looking at her, and then the popular guy's like, oh my god, I did not know Blake was hot. And I'm like, this is normal dialogue.
This is normal teenage behavior. How do you do, fellow teens?
Mm-hmm. But then they do their, like, slow walk, and everyone's like, wow, she's so hot, we're following you, and now we're gonna talk to you, and you're immediately one of us now because you're wearing this getup. But then we see Jack.
That is how high school functions, ?
Yeah, but then we see Jack looking off sadly, and he's just like, oh, she got swept away. I can't.
She got swept away by the tides of popularity. There is no way I can follow with my whatever I have going on. It's probably not good enough.
Right.
Never mind the fact that we have been friends forever and that we are, in fact, you know,
like,
a thing.
I'm dating you. You didn't.
Never mind the fact that we are already a thing, and she literally got kind of swept up, and maybe I should go follow her, see if she's okay. Well, no, actually, no, I can't. I'm not popular. Oh, no.
Yeah, that's it for me. Oh,
oh, my relevance.
But then we go back to the coffee shop, and this is the start of the B plot, getting this guy to date the mom. And the assistant's like, here he is, right on time. Go get him. And then she's like, oh, okay, fine. So she goes to get his order, and then he's been coming here so often that she's able to finish the order for him, because he gets the same thing all the time.
A regular. With a regular order. He can just order his order. He can just order the usual.
Yeah, he's one of those. That's how often he comes.
Heck yeah.
But then she said, so after she gets his order, she's like, anything else? And he's like,
he's just like, I'm being put on the spot, please help.
Yeah, he's like, oh, no, well, I was wondering if you'd like to get dinner with me. And she's like, yes, I would love to. And then
that was easy.
Yeah, what's funny too is, like, these are two very conventionally attractive people who've been interested in each other.
Okay.
So I don't really know why they try. And again, we're not even that deep into the movie. It's pretty early on, and this just happens.
Okay.
So then we go back to school, and then Blake is sitting with them for lunch. So Jack joins them, and he sits next to his girlfriend. And nobody even minds. Everybody's pretty cool. That's one thing I will say about the popular kids. Like, they're not really that bothered by Jack. They're all pretty friendly with him. Like, nobody would talk to him without Blake because they like her. But nobody's mean to him either.
Right. They're kind of ambivalent. Like, he's here. He's with her. That's fine.
Yeah. Like, nobody even, like, ooh, where'd he come from when he sits down? Like,
ooh, what is this gross peasant doing amongst us?
Yeah, nobody has any issues.
How dare this dirty peasant be in the presence of us, the nobility of this school?
Yeah. And so they're sitting there, and he's like, wow, like, you look really pretty like this. I was surprised, but it's a good surprise. You're always pretty. And he's, like, kind of fumbling. I'm like, you guys are dating. You could just talk to her.
Why are you trying to, like, court her again.
Yeah, I guess he's like really intimidated by her va-va-voom first day of school thing. But then
I mean, that to me is kind of a red flag.
You think?
Well, maybe not a red flag, but at the very least a moment of, okay, that's kind of weird. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, he's kind of making it weirder than it needs to be. But then Chloe comes like, oh, can I steal your girl for a sec? We have cheerleading tryouts we don't want to be late for. And he's like, oh, cheerleading tryouts? And then she's like, yeah, we'll talk later. And he just leave, and then they just leave. And then he's stuck sitting here with all these people. And
that he doesn't know.
Yeah, and it's cut before we can really explore that. Like, it doesn't look like anybody's talking with him. At the same time, he kind of has a look on his face that I totally relate to, because it's like, yeah, what's my obligation to stay sitting here?
Right,
like, I came for one person who is no longer
like,
here.
I don't know these people. These people are not my friends. I have no interest in befriending these people. Why am I still here? Should I go? Is going weird? Is staying weird? Oh, the dilemmas. Like, I feel that. Like, relatable.
Yeah, what's weird too, though, is like the tryouts then don't actually happen for some time. So maybe they just went to practice. I don't know why they left.
Huh.
Because
that is weird.
Yeah, it's like the general implications is definitely happen like tomorrow. So I don't know why they couldn't just stay at lunch. But I think that's more of a red flag for us. Like, oh, Chloe's trying to get between them or something.
Yeah.
But now we go back home, and the mom, Samantha, is getting ready for her big date with Coffee Guy. Mm-hmm. I didn't even try to remember his name.
He's a male character in a Lifetime movie. His relevance is only as it relates to whatever character he interacts with.
That's very accurate. That's a succinct way to put it. So she's trying to find something to wear, and then British girl comes up, and she's like, ooh, wait right there. And then she comes back with this box, and she's like, I've been meaning to give this to you. And it's like, you've only been here like a day.
2 days.
Yeah, but I guess she brought it with her from England, and she's giving it to her, and it's this pretty red dress, and she's like, go try it on, I think it'd be perfect for your date. And she's like, wow, this is really pretty, thank you, this was a nice gift. And then she goes to the room, and then Chloe makes this so weird, she's like, yeah, I won't even look. And she turns around. And
yeah, I won't even look.
Yeah, I don't think, like,
I just love won't even look.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Like, the word even is what makes it weird to me.
Yeah,
like, just being
right.
like, oh, I won't look, just turn around. Like, that would have been like, okay, sure, whatever. But I won't even look. Like, you need to expend momentous effort to not stare.
Yeah, because this is like a master bedroom setup where there's like a bathroom area and like a walk-in closet kind of thing. So like she can like easily like walk out.
She can just go into a different like room basically and just change.
And she does do that, but even so, Chloe turns around and I'm like, you really couldn't help yourself that much? You would have been like peeking behind the door.
Look away from the door? Or...
So then she comes out, and then it flashes to this other woman, and she's spinning around, and she's wearing the same dress, and then she's like, well, because the mom here said, what did you think? And then the flashback mom wearing the same exact dress is like, well, how do I look? And then we see a little girl, who we assume grows up to be this girl. I don't know
a tiny Chloe.
Yeah, tiny Chloe, and like the tiny Chloe says, you look so pretty, and she runs into her arms to hug her. So then in the present, she's like, you look so pretty, and she runs to hug her. Oh. And the mom has a weird expression. She's like hugging her back, but she's like,
what's going on?
She immediately looks so like over her, like especially because of the last talk, and I'm like, okay,
it's more. So what you're saying, like, I'm just trying to make sure I understand this, like the way it, because supposedly it is more meant to be like she feels awkward, like, oh, what is this? Why is this person I barely know suddenly hugging me? Kind of deal is probably what it's like supposed to be.
Yeah.
But then with the way you describe it, it makes it sound like what is like what we get out of this is more a case of, Brits and their affection.
Yeah, like she is just really like annoyed with this British chick. Like from the last talk they had one-on-one, and now this talk, she's just so like, gosh, what did we sign up for with this?
What did we sign up for with this? Look at this. These cultural differences are just making everything annoying. Ugh, like what?
But the thing is, though, I don't think that's supposed to be what... I think that's just, like, a weird acting miscommunication or something, because she has the same energy on her date with the guy.
Oh.
Yeah, because he's, like... And so on one hand, he's like, you know, you've got, like, you make the best espresso in town. And then... she's like, well, your patronage has certainly contributed to its success. And she says it so smug, like, you buy a lot of coffee. Honestly, I'm a little bit worried about your consumption.
Please continue purchasing coffee from me. It makes me money.
Yeah, very silly.
What?
And then... they talk a little bit more, and now here's where the B plot can come in. Because apparently it's not a relationship unless we have something to work through together. But we find out that why can
we never kind of just have a relationship that just kind of exists within the thing? Why must there always be something going on? Like, we can't just have people be like... I mean, on one hand, I kind of get it. Like, you want to show stuff that is relevant, but at the same time, you can just use it as, like, I don't know, character motivation for, like, the actual plot or something. Like,
yeah, I definitely think that there's some way to, like, combine the two. But there's, like, crazy exchange student doing crazy exchange student stuff, but also the lease on the coffee shop is gonna go out. Where are we gonna go?
Oh my god!
And the guy,
that's the B plot.
Yeah, that's the B plot.
Oh,
and then he's like, well, I did tell you I'm a lawyer, right? It might not be legal for them to, like, can't just end your lease this abruptly. Mm-hmm. And she's
I can be your lawyer. I can look into your case.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, well, you know, like, they're a big company. I can't afford it. And then he does this whole speech. He's like, well, you know, I used to work for, like, the lawyers that represent the big companies. But I always found myself rooting for the little guy. And now I help companies like yours so they can grow and succeed. It's what I do. And she's like, but I couldn't afford you.
I used to be on the dark side, but now I'm a good person.
Yeah. And it's like, on one hand, it's like, okay, that's more character growth than we've ever gotten for a man before.
Phil.
Phil, yeah, that's true. Phil, I forgot about Phil. He was from A Sister's Secret. That was one of the first Lifetime movies we covered, if not the first. And
Phil.
I forgot about Phil. Phil did not care. Phil was unconcerned with the world around him.
Phil is still my favorite character favorite male character in a Lifetime movie. He just amazing. What a guy.
I don't know.
Good old Phil.
Like him and the woman who played his love interest in the movie, they were both in Gossip Girl together. I'm almost wondering if maybe they knew whoever was making this movie and, like, they were here as a solid. I just don't know who told him. Like, I don't know if he just didn't care or if they told him. Like,
to portray this kind of character. Yeah.
Who doesn't care? Oh my gosh. Okay.
Sorry, it's just you know, like you said, this is so far the most, like, characterization we've seen in a male character in a Lifetime movie. And sorry, but I kind of use Phil. Phil is kind of my, like, baseline for how much I like a male character in a Lifetime movie, in a way.
I totally agree. I think with Phil, it was more like the acting let us know a lot, like his show don't tell, but like this was very much tell and tell again.
Yeah, let me tell you how I'm a lawyer and how I used to be a shitty lawyer, but now I'm a good lawyer, and it's like, good. Sure, whatever. Yeah. I don't care.
Here's the tragic backstory of what I'm bringing into this relationship.
The tragic backstory of I used to be a corporate lawyer and now I'm a small corporate lawyer.
Right, exactly. So then, after that, they're like, enough business. And then she's like, I'm glad you asked me out.
Time for pleasure.
Yeah, exactly. But then, we go to tryouts the next day. And it's Blake's turn. By the way, it's in the background. I understand we're supposed to be paying attention to the fact that Chloe's taking her phone and texting her boyfriend things. Because she left it unlocked. But in the background, Blake is doing the most basic, boring cheer ever. It's like literally like, this is spirit. You've got spirit. We've got spirit. Woo!
Oh.
Woo! And I cut out a few lines, but they were just further reminders that someone has got a little bit of spirit.
Someone somewhere has an amount of spirit.
But anyway, so Jack is like...
Someone is vaguely spirited somewhere.
Right. But then Jack has sent a message to the boyfriend. He's like, do you still want to meet later? And then she's like... Then Chloe texts back, can't, I'm really busy, and deletes both messages.
Okay.
So that's a bad thing she did.
I mean, yes. Objectively, yes.
And then I just want to put this little corner of something, because we find out that the girls... Yeah, so this is one thing, I just don't understand the timeline at all anymore. Because remember, first day of school, Blake and Chloe leave Jack at a table with strangers because they have tryouts.
Now it's the next day and we have tryouts.
But then I'm thinking maybe it's even longer, because then the mom at the coffee shop is talking to the lady, and she's like, so how's it been going? And she's like, oh, it's been good. And she's like, anything else happen? And like, she literally like wiggles her eyebrows like, you guys have sex yet? And she's like, it's been 2 dates. And she like...
Oh, okay, so that it means that at least 2 days have passed, presumably more.
Yeah, I don't know what, like, it feels like we're moving really fast, but I don't know, like, how long, and it's very weird. But anyway, the girls
it definitely makes it feel to me like the writers weren't paying attention to how time works.
No. It's really weird too, and I guess they just wanted people to start distrusting Chloe immediately, but but you don't need to do that for the audience's sake. I just saw her bludgeon a guy with a meat mallet.
Yeah.
I understand she's not to be trusted.
I am more aware than anyone else that this girl is bad news.
So then, Jack comes to the coffee shop and he's like, hey, can we talk? And we don't know what they're talking about. But it doesn't even matter, because they just needed to all go away so that Chloe could have a little one-on-one talk with the mom, where she's... Because at first she's going to help the mom with the computer thing she doesn't get, and then the mom's like, no, it's okay, Jack's here. Which on one hand I appreciate, because she's like, getting it... She's respecting that Jack is her tech person. And I feel like a different Lifetime movie would have just easily been fine with everyone just replacing Jack with Chloe.
Yeah.
So I like that she's not really good at, like, charming her way into the family.
Yeah, it's not like just an immediate acceptance of, oh yes, you are my new daughter, hello.
Yeah, exactly. But then she sees a picture of the full family, and she's like, oh my gosh, yeah, it was really tough. But then Chloe takes a picture of the photo, and for some reason the mom doesn't look that bothered by this, but I'm like, that's kind of a weird thing to do, isn't it?
Like, okay, like, so I at home don't have, like, we don't really have, like, family pictures around, like, at all. But if somebody were to come in and take pictures of, like, your family pictures, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, I would question them. I would wonder, why are you that's kind of weird and unusual. People don't do that.
Yeah, and like she says, like, oh, do you mind? You just all look so happy here. And it's like weird because, like,
Yes, I do mind, actually. Please don't do that.
Also, like, yeah, I guess we could, because, like, we're still, I don't really remember if they even say how long they've been dead. I guess at least over a year because of the whole benzos thing. But, like, it still feels, like, fairly fresh. They're still, like, rebuilding. So it's rude to say, like,
they're still figuring out their relationship with each other without the people who are now missing, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so it's really rude to take a picture like, you guys just look so happy with these people you love still around. It's like, and she has no reaction. Like, the girl she was giving her condolences, and this woman was so bothered, was sick of her. But now with this conversation, she's just like, yeah, no, this is perfectly reasonable. Yes.
Like, I feel like most people would maybe at that point kind of get emotional, you know?
Yeah, but she's just like, no,
like,
I
would kind of have a moment of like, oh, sorry, I just need to do some breathing exercises real fast. Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I
need to calm down maybe a bit.
But then we do get to see a little bit about what Blake and Jack are talking about. And then I'm assuming, I don't know, he's just like, I feel like you've been acting differently towards me lately. And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. But whatever. So now they're having a pool party at the house.
Resolution.
Yeah, exactly. But she's like, I don't feel like I've been acting differently towards you. I'm just like cheerleading and stuff. So they're having this pool party. There's popular guys, and this one particularly hot 25-year-old gets out of the pool, and he
particularly hot 25-year-old.
Yeah, at the high school party.
I believe you. I absolutely believe you. I also believe that the movie wants us to believe that a guy is at least like almost a decade younger than he is. But still, amazing. Sorry, that was very good.
Yes, it was what it was. And
I mean, listen, the only reason I cannot play a teenager in like a movie like that, is because of my receding hairline and my long beard. If I had a bit more hair and I shaved my beard off, I could play a teenager in a movie, I'm certain. Even though I'm like almost 30.
Yeah, it's just like little...
Well, also I'm not handsome enough, I suppose.
I don't know. I feel like the older you look, the better. I feel like we are really going to get to a point, though, where like Jason Alexander could be cast as like an 18-year-old. I think they don't even care about age. They're just like, yeah, it totally makes sense that you're dating like a 15-year-old.
You look attractive. Sure, you can play a teenager.
Yeah. Okay, so they're at this party and like this hot 25-year-old comes out and the daughter like looks at him and kind of makes eyes at him, and then the mom is cutting fruit with her. Not vegetables. That would be a weird pool party.
I mean,
treat.
Depends, I guess, on the exact vegetable, but...
Yeah, I guess that's true. And I think that's when I first go to Brussels sprouts and I'm like, that's a weird thing to like do.
I love Brussels sprouts so much.
But cooked, right?
Yeah, no, no, you don't eat those raw. What the hell? No.
I don't think you would either, but like they're kind of raw. That's why I wanted to stray away from its fruit, which you can.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
if you do so, you probably want to, like, depending on what, probably cook it first. Like, at the same time, I wouldn't like serve Brussels sprouts. Like, that's a dinner vegetable. You use that in your dinner with like other stuff.
Especially everybody's like swimming and stuff. I feel like
you know what? You're right. Fruit makes more sense, definitely.
Yeah.
I'm just I don't know. I was just kind of thinking like just in a general party sense, there are vegetables I think you could turn into like a party snack.
Oh yeah, like carrots maybe, or like carrot.
Also, there's stuff where it's like, is this a fruit? Is this a vegetable? And then you can get into philosophical discussions. But it's a nice icebreaker for a party. Is this a fruit or a vegetable?
I remember in elementary school we watched a Bill Nye the Science Guy episode where the whole point was him figuring out if a tomato was a fruit or a vegetable. And I remember a lot of different things that happened in that. Like feel like I can identify children that were cast in it. Mm-hmm. I do not remember the conclusion. I do not recall what he decided the answer was. I remember there was they had a chart with fruit, vegetable, and different characters this goes to fruit, this goes to vegetable, and different things like that. And
what's interesting is I forget where I saw it, but I remember actually seeing a thing somewhere. I think it was a post on Tumblr or something where somebody was vegetables actually don't exist. And I was just thinking, what are you on about? Again, then they said something along the lines of a vegetable is kind of just everything of the plant that is not the fruit. So saying that something is a vegetable is kind of meaningless. It just means it is part of the plant that isn't the fruit. And I was just kind of in a way that makes sense. Like spinach, that's leaves. You just eat leaves.
That's true.
Yeah, like carrots, you eat the root of the plant. Same with potatoes. Yeah.
Okay, well.
There you go. Which makes tomatoes a fruit, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess they're the flower part. Okay. All right, well, there you go. That's a little KOF educational moment on
I don't know how educational it is. I'm not a biologist. I don't feel I don't know. That's just kind of a thing I saw somewhere that made sense to me, which it might be complete nonsense. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, take what you want from that.
Yeah, I suppose.
But
back to this movie, right? We were talking about there was a pool party going on. There was a hot 25-year-old.
Hot 25-year-old, and the mom catches them looking while they're chomping fruit, and she's like, oh, well, I know things have been kind of weird with you and Jack lately. And then she's like, yeah, Chloe thinks I should see other people.
What?
But I don't know. You and Dad were high school sweethearts, right? And she's like, yeah, and we went to different colleges, and that separation made us realize we wanted to be together even more. But, you and Jack are still young. Just make sure, it's your decision. She's just kind of carefully being like, it's really not up to Chloe who you date.
Yeah, that. That's fair. That's a very fair point. You should be the one to figure out if you want to see other people or if you're just comfortable in wanting to date Jack more. And otherwise, I would say personally, I would give the advice of just make sure you communicate well, because otherwise you're gonna hurt somebody's feelings.
And
in this case, most likely Jack's.
And I will say I do appreciate how, the mom is very much kind of Team Jack. She's like, you made my daughter happy when she was in a really dark place. And you help me all the time. You're a good kid. She's fine with them breaking up on Blake's terms, obviously. She doesn't even say anything like, oh, well, I think you should keep dating Jack because he's a really good boy. She doesn't say anything like that, but you can tell that, she appreciates Jack.
Yeah.
And his contribution to the family, regardless of how it turns out. So then we go outside, and Chloe goes up to the guy, and she's like, oh, you don't really seem to like me all that much. And she's like, I just feel like things have been different since, you came. That's all. I'm getting used to it. And then she's like, do you ever think maybe you just weren't letting her live up to her full potential? You gotta admit, you've probably just been holding her back, Jack. And then he's like,
heck? I mean, I know what she's trying to do, but still, what the kind of thing is that to say?
And then he's like, I can't believe I supported them bringing you here. And he had also, before they even started that, he mentioned that he can't swim. So as soon as this conversation goes south, she just pushes him in the pool.
Of course.
And he's flailing a lot. And then Blake runs out and has to save him. And all the popular kids were just standing around laughing. But then when Blake runs in to save him, they're like, they go to the mom, they're like, oh my god, we thought he was just faking. We didn't realize he couldn't actually swim.
Well, that's I guess that's kind of fair. Like generally you assume people can swim, I guess. But still, when you see somebody like that, I feel like you can just kind of instinctually tell the difference between somebody faking it and somebody actually panicking. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of a thing that feels true to me.
Yeah, it's like he immediately starts flapping, and it's like very clear. It's hard to fake drowning, especially for how long he has to be in the pool. But I'm like, you're keeping yourself afloat. If you would just stop yelling, you would be swimming.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's also just a thing because that it's a movie, it's acting, and like you said, it's really hard to pretend to be drowning.
Yeah, I just feel like maybe they should have only showed his head or something, but you can fully see his arms and legs keeping him afloat.
You can kind of clearly see he is just swimming and then just yelling and flailing at the same time, yeah.
Yeah, he's like, oh no, help. So it's like, I can definitely see why. But then he's like, she pushed me in and she knew I couldn't swim. And then Blake is like, you think she actually was trying to hurt you? And then he's like, I'm telling you the truth. Believe what you want.
That's a bad response, I'd say, to what she just said. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like, you could say yes.
You can just say yes. You can just say, like, I just know that or even you can just say, I just know she pushed me in after I explicitly told her I cannot swim. Yeah. I'm sorry, but the evidence kind of stands on its own.
Yeah, so he's saying that, and then she's like, Jack, and then she's like, and then he's like, forget it. And then she's like, well, you know what, you forget it. I feel like ever since Chloe came, you've been mad at me for having a friend. And I'm like, okay, what? Well, we're talking.
Okay,
yeah.
There's a lot going on here, and I feel like people need to talk. People need to sit down and have a conversation.
Yeah, and they're all, like, this is all right in front of all the other guests. And one thing I will say, I'm glad they used some restraint, because this easily could have been the kind of thing where he's like, can we just talk privately? And then, she was just like, basically, like, you can leave. But I'm glad they didn't go the other route where because other movies would be like, anything you want to say to me, you could say to my friends. And I'm like, you do not know these people well enough. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, that would have been a really weird direction to take it.
Yeah. Then he goes upstairs and he ends up taking a picture of her passport, and then he leaves, and then she's like, oh, you find anything good in there? And he's like, this isn't over, Chloe. And he leaves. And remember, we know he can do tech stuff, so who knows what he's going to find.
You know what he's going to find with, like, somebody's identification information.
Yeah, I know.
Which, it's kind of a weird thing to just kind of, like, even if somebody, like, pushed you into a pool knowing you can't swim, like, that's kind of a weird thing to do, I think, but okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he didn't even skip a beat. He immediately was like, look, I'm going to look into this chick. I'm going to find out
everything about this person. Yeah.
So now we go on a date, and here's something interesting. So the mom is like, there was actually like he's talking about, like, they talk about the lease some more, and it's like, okay. But this is where they have a chance for this to sort of become maybe related in some way.
Yeah, kind of merge the plots, like kind of have the events kind of cross over.
So then she says, it almost seemed like at one moment Chloe was like happy that they were breaking up, and that was kind of weird. And then he's like, yeah, I don't know her very well at all, but I know you two have seemed happier since she got here. And I'm like, do you really? Because you didn't start dating until Chloe was already here.
And like before that, I guess he was a regular, so he maybe saw them like just kind of be in the restaurant or whatever, or the cafe or whatever it was.
Yeah, since she came, you've been filling my coffee with more pep in your step.
More pep in your step.
I don't know.
No, that's a very, very good, very nice, very good line. That should have been a line in the actual movie, is what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah, well, one day, if we do this long enough, they'll start referring to us.
Yeah, they'll start taking our advice on how to improve. I would love
to be a lifetime consultant. I mean, I'll keep it the same level it's at because I do appreciate it.
Of course.
But, like, little things like that, they really need to like lean into more, for sure.
Yeah, like, because kind of the problem, I guess, is with Lifetime movies, is that they could have been like, I feel like in a way they could have reached a larger audience, maybe, if they leaned more into the silliness.
Right.
Like, because I feel like, because it's kind of like the, because a problem I think with a lot of like actual like parody movies is then they lean too far, and it kind of becomes unfunny because they try too hard to be funny.
Right.
Whereas with this, it is in a lot of ways, it's unintentionally funny, but you could like dial up the humor a little bit more just by leaning slightly more into it, like the little you've been pouring my coffee with a little bit more pep in your step. Like it's a dumb line and it's an incredibly stupid thing to say, but it would fit without being like over the top, like look at how crazy funny lol random we are.
Right. And like the way that they've been talking, the way they act, they're both so awkward with all their deliveries. I think that that line would have been amazing. They would not have been able to do it in an earnest way at all. But okay, so a lot is about to
what we're
happen.
Saying what we're saying is to Lifetime is, come on, play to your strengths.
Yeah. Cheese it up.
Embrace what you really are.
Yeah. Remember who you are, Lifetime. Okay, so
live to your fullest potential.
So, by the way, on their date, we got another update on the lease. It really doesn't matter.
Okay, I don't care then.
The resolution to that is he saves the cafe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I mean, that was expected from the moment he brought up he was a lawyer, honestly.
Yeah, so nothing there.
Nothing there really matters.
I think that could have been interesting if he tried everything he could, and he's like, I'm so sorry. I really tried it. She's like, I know, like, we'll be okay. Something happens, and he's like, well, I'm going to help you with the new place. Because her concern was, she was like, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to start all over again, because it was hard enough to get this place up and running the first time. Which, fair enough.
Like that kind of business, like the service industry is a very, very difficult one to succeed in.
Yeah, she already built up like customers and everything. And, so it's reasonable. But anyway, they end up doing it. So next things that are going to happen. Blake is sad about the breakup, but then Chloe's like, look, that hot 25-year-old and his friend are coming over, so...
There are more fish in the sea. There are plenty of fish in the ocean that I had to cross to get here.
And then she gets Blake on board, then she texts the guy, and she's like, hey, Blake really wants to meet your hot 25-year-old friend. Why don't you both come over? And then it's like, oh, she's being sneaky. That's what we take away from that.
Yeah.
Then Jack goes home, and I don't know what this is, but he's able to just like look up her passport number and image and look through everything, and it turns out she's using a dead girl's identity.
Oh.
Yeah, Chloe Miller.
I guess he did the secret like hacker technique of, I guess he Googled her passport information.
Honestly, I think he's breaking government law because it looks like a database like that, like the government would use, or like the FBI or something would use.
He's committing a felony, is what you're saying.
It looks like it, unless maybe there is a legitimate way to do this and I just don't understand.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really.
But it looks like he shouldn't be allowed to do this in high school, is all I'm saying. But he finds this out, and then so now we see that they're having people over, and like they make it very clear that Blake isn't drinking alcohol. Everybody else is having like a little bit, but she's not.
Sure,
but
fair enough. I don't drink alcohol either.
Right. I don't really either. Anyway. Then, Chloe manages to sneak her phone away to the kitchen while she's pouring the drinks, and she texts Jack, because Jack texts like, we need to talk, and then she's like, okay,
he's gonna do the dumb thing of you know, I guess he's gonna do the dumb thing of confrontation without backup.
Right. Well, because he's texting Blake. He's thinking, like, I'm just going to talk to you. Please see me. And then she's like, can't now. Come to meet me at the back gate later or in a bit. And then he's like, okay, thank you. And then he's on his way and he leaves in a hurry. And then the mom, his mother, sees him leaving. And then all he says is, Chloe is a fraud. And he leaves. And I'm like, Mom, are we going to follow him?
Yeah, I would have been like, hold on, who is Chloe? What are you on about?
Yeah, what's happening? Why are you leaving in like the middle of the night?
Who is Chloe? Why is she a fraud? Where are you going?
Yeah, what is this? Then, the other thing too that I want to bring attention to is that he did not, I don't feel like he really had a lot of grounds until after she pushed him in the pool. Like, at first, it really did seem like he was just suspicious because she was, like, cheerleading now and making friends with the populars, but it didn't even, she never even said anything like, yeah, the populars are lame, I'm so glad I'm out of that life. Like, we found out she cheerleaded before.
Oh.
So I don't know why he was like this from the jump, but then when they have their breakup, I really feel like he should have given Blake some more information about Chloe. That's all I'm saying. So it feels a little underdeveloped. I don't feel like it's really justified. Like, I know it is because, again, I watched her bludgeon someone with a meat but
yeah, that's a pretty condemning thing to have witnessed.
But you know, he didn't see that. So I don't, like, he seems kind of petty, even though we know he's justified in his...
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of a thing with a lot of Lifetime, isn't it? Where, like, the character who is on to the villain usually just very reasonably is by the other people seen as being petty or being paranoid. And we as the audience only know that that person isn't because we know who the villain is, or, you know, something like that. So it's always kind of weird in that sense. It's kind of a thing that is pretty consistent in like a lot of Lifetime movies. Yeah,
that's true. Well, then Chloe, when she's making the drinks, she goes up to the closet and she sees that Blake still has plenty of those medications from when she was like zoned out for a year. So she puts those in her drink.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So then, this is something I will definitely praise this Lifetime movie for. I think this is very positive representation, and I think we honestly could use more of it. So the next thing we see is Chloe's just escorting the guys out, and like they're not like disappointed or anything. But Blake starts falling asleep, and then they're like, "Okay, we came here with like promises of making out or canoodling of some kind, but like she's asleep now. We're gonna just leave and we'll do this another time. We had fun while it lasted. Good day."
We had fun. Now now she is very sleepy, and well, that's time for us to leave.
Yeah, which I was like, wow, that's the most respectful thing I've ever seen ever. Look at these nice popular boys respecting consent on a movie.
Yeah.
No one was trying to take advantage. It wasn't even like considered. They were just like, oh, she's falling asleep. We're going to go away. And I was like, good job.
There wasn't even like some gross weirdo who was like, oh, hey, dude, look, this means we can, or something weird and gross.
It wasn't even... And, like, they could have used that sort of thing to, like, sort of, like, even, like, promote Chloe a little bit. Like, where she had to be like, hey, you creeps, get out of here. She's asleep. They didn't even do that. So I was like, okay, that's cool. I think that's nice. There should be more of that. I don't have much to say that's really nice to you, Lifetime, but I appreciated that.
Yeah, there's some nice characterization of characters. Good job.
Yeah. So they leave, and Jack is at the pool waiting for her. And then she gets, like, bug spray. Chloe does, and she sprays him in the face.
Ugh.
And he falls back into the pool.
Yeah. I mean, knowing the kind of chemicals that are usually in bug spray, poor guy.
Yeah, it was way to go. I think the chlorine immediately rinsed it out, though, because he's
probably
because he's not in pain anymore. He's just fighting for his life.
Yeah, he is dry. He still can't swim.
Yeah,
so that is a big issue.
One thing that's weird, too, though, is, like, I don't know, but he dies much faster. Like, he was waiting in the pool earlier at the pool party a lot longer.
Yeah.
Than this time. So I don't...
Now he's in the water and he's like, oh no, like all of a sudden, like the bubbles that come out of his mouth, like take the shape of numbers and it just goes 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, there he goes, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, he's just dead. And then she's like, and she goes to bed.
Yeah.
Then the next morning, Mom goes out.
That's another murder. Another notch on my belt. There we go.
Mm-hmm. She took his phone and she just texted Blake, I have nothing left to live for.
Wow.
Jack.
Wow.
Yeah. Then
that is like the poorest attempt at a fake suicide note I have ever seen in a movie.
It's just the one sentence, just a quick text like, hey, I'm out.
Bye.
Yeah. Like,
what?
So then the next morning the mom's going out for a morning cup of coffee and she's like having a nice little Folgers commercial until she notices a dead body in her pool.
I mean, that's a pretty awful way to start your morning.
Yeah, and then she's like, and then she runs in to get him and she's like, Blake, somebody help. Nobody calls 911. Blake is like got a mass. Blake wakes up with like a massive headache because she
was drugged, yeah.
Yeah, she was drugged. She doesn't know what's going on there. That was weird. But then she looks at her phone. She sees the text from Jack. And she runs out because she hears her mom. And then she's like freaking out. And then she sees him. And they're both just like, wake up, wake up. And then I'm like, okay, but like call 911 maybe?
Maybe somebody call the emergency number.
I mean,
for emergencies.
He's been in there overnight, so I understand we're not really bringing him back.
No, but we still need some, I don't know, like, we still need, there's still a body to recover. There is still, like, also, you cannot actually, like, I believe legally, you cannot establish a person, like, there needs to be an ambulance person to establish the fact that he is dead. That is, like, a legal requirement or something, I believe. But still, yeah, it's still imperative that the emergency number for emergencies is called here.
Yeah, so, okay. Now here's some more red flags on the Chloe front. So she, okay, so Blake runs upstairs to her room to cry because she's sad that Jack's dead.
Understandable.
Especially because last she heard they just had a fight and now he's killed himself over it.
Yeah, like that's emotional trauma right there. Also considering she fairly recently lost 2 other people. Like, holy crap.
Right.
That's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, so she runs upstairs to cry and then the mom follows her and she's like, okay, honey, like, please come talk to me. I'm right here. Or like, let me be with you. I don't want you alone right now kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And Chloe is right behind her and she's like, I don't think she's ready to talk yet. And then the mom looks at her like, don't tell me how to raise my kid. Anyway, Blake does open the door and then they go in and they close the door in front of Chloe, essentially.
Yeah,
and then she's
reasonable.
Like, Yeah. Then later, later the mom sees Blake sleeping and she goes in with her to cuddle with her, and then Chloe goes too.
Oh.
And then she's like, oh, okay. Then she looks at her immediately, because I'm like, yeah, like, I don't know what else you're going to do. Because at this point, if I was the mom, I would think, like, oh, it seems like the exchange student's, like, in love with me or something. And this is weird. She's a mine. I don't know. But she just looks at, she's like, hey, sweetheart, let's let her rest, okay? yeah. And she looks so uncomfortable, but I'm like, yeah, I don't know what else you could really do.
Yeah, like she is understandably just very weirded out at this point, I'd say.
Yeah, and then I'm like, maybe you guys should talk about this, but then they don't. The next morning, she sees Chloe made breakfast and she's on her way out. And she's like, oh, I thought you guys wouldn't really be up to it. She's like, I'm not really, but I want to make sure I can get Blake's assignment so she doesn't fall too far behind. And then the mom's like, oh, that's really sweet of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Then we find out that the popular kids made a card for Blake and like they all put it together, and then Chloe brings it home and she's like, yeah, I did it.
Wow.
I got it. I picked it up and had everybody sign it so you can know everyone's thinking of you. And like one thing too is like that doesn't even really serve anything anyway. But
yeah, like isn't like I guess it's in a vague way, like in a I guess it's in a way an attempt at putting her in like Samantha's like good books.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I guess so. I guess that's all it serves. Then the new boyfriend is there. They're all just trying to like sort of comfort Blake a bit, and like the mom's staying home with her while the friend manager is like running the cafe. Then apparently she needs like a key to open the safe because they need to get something out of it. I don't know. And then Chloe's like, okay, I'll go do it for you. And so she does, and now she knows how to access the safe. She also had a spare key made.
Oh, good. Yeah, trust the person you still don't really know with the key to a safe that is probably full of sensitive information and documents.
Yeah, but that's not really super relevant. Remember that lady I mentioned earlier who wanted to do an expose for the Herald?
Ah, yes, that thing that you mentioned that kind of went nowhere before now.
Well, here we go. Here's the payoff.
Finally, we get the payoff of the inspiringly named The Herald.
I know that everybody was just chomping at the bit to find out where that was going.
Would that go somewhere? What about this expose? I mean, I was screaming it in my head all this time.
So then at this point, so she goes up to her, she's like, oh, hey, I was wondering if you'd be ready to do that interview together. And she's like, oh, I don't really have a lot of time right now. I'm kind of busy. She's like, oh, okay. Well, I'm really excited to do this. I've been looking into Canterbury. That's where you're from, right? And, it's really, interesting. Like, you got out just in time. Did you hear about that vicious murder? And she's like, what? You've been looking into me? And then immediately is like, okay, you're going to be a problem.
You are on my list of people to kill.
Yeah, literally, like, that's just what the face she made. She's like, okay, well, you signed your fate.
Here we go again.
And then to add to her suspiciousness, she's like, oh, you know what, actually, like, I do have some time right now. And she's like, okay, great. Well, I was headed to the library. Do you want to meet me there and we could do it there? She's like, okay, great. They go to the steps of the library, and then she's basically like, you're a weirdo, nobody likes you, and pushes her down the stairs so she dies.
Wow. That is a very brazen thing to do, just on the steps of the library.
I want to be clear. She shows up. It's like, literally, this whole exchange is less than 2 minutes from like, can I interview you for the thing, to her dying.
Wow.
It's like 2 minutes.
No build up at all.
And
just immediate murder.
Mm-hmm. And then she goes home to them, and then they're watching the news, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's awful to hear that she got murdered.
Hear that the person from The Herald got killed?
Yeah, and then she's
fell off the stairs and died?
Oh, I'd be remiss not to mention this. Okay, the reporter reporting the news is so rude. Like, this does not seem like the time for, like, news anchor comedy. Mm-hmm. Because she's like, this woman prided herself on making headlines for the Herald. Well, she became one herself, or something like that.
God.
Yeah, it's really insensitive.
What the hell? I have to imagine, like, it is now my personal headcanon that woman got fired real fast.
And, like, Blake and the mom are watching the news story. Nobody bats an eye at that.
Nobody has any reaction to this incredibly, like, insensitive statement. What the hell?
But then the other thing that happens now is like Blake rests on her mom's shoulder, and then Chloe takes the other shoulder, and Blake for a split second looks over and Blake looks over for a second. Is like, wait, what? When did that
Hold
start?
on.
but she's too, in her own grief, so she just falls asleep.
Kind of shrugs it off, and it's like, whatever.
But the mom is also looking uncomfortable, and I'm like, see, this is why you guys needed to have a conversation after she tried it the first time. Yeah. Because now she thinks this is like a thing, and like, I guess, I don't know.
I mean, even if there was a conversation, she would have still thought it was a thing, because she's the crazy murderer.
Yeah. True. So now we're at Jack's funeral, and the mom sees her, and she's like, why are you here, to Chloe? And she's like, well, Jack was my friend. And she's like, is that how you treat your friends? And then she's like, what? And then she's like, well, do you know how humiliated he was when you pulled him in the pool? And she was like, it was an honest mistake. And she's like, I mean, it's not my fault he can't swim. So then the mom's like, get out. And everybody's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then Jack's mom tells this mom, you brought this poison to her house. Get her out of here.
What?
And then as she's leaving, Chloe looks at her like, yeah, I'm evil and I know that. And then she...
evil smirk in place.
Yeah, and so then the mom slaps her really hard. And then there's this woman who's like a cop who was just like at the funeral, I guess.
Maybe like a family member in some way.
It's really like she's working on the case, I guess, but I don't know why she's at the
like
funeral.
A sign of respect. I don't know. It's kind of weird.
It's really weird. But anyway, so then she's like, okay, well, it's good that this all blew up at the funeral anyway, because I need to bring you guys down to the station so that we can talk. Let's go. And so they go there, and she gives her like an ice pack, and they're talking, and it like brings like up a few red flags a little bit. Because, like, then she brings up Chloe, like, oh, well, Jack sort of, like, fancied me and Blake was jealous, but, like, I kept my distance because she's my best friend. And then she's like, oh, okay, interesting.
Curious.
So what do you think he meant when he texted, Chloe's not who she says she is. I'm coming over. And then she's like, oh, he tried that? I'm not surprised. And then she's like, okay, what do you mean? And then, so the cop is like really suspicious of all this, but then she's like, oh, well, after he came on to me and I said no, he started trying to talk bad about me to Blake, and then Blake was starting to think that she was out of his league anyway, so like they were gonna break up. And then she's like, okay, so like the text that you didn't address, what does he mean? And I'm like, well, he was just trying to prove that I was untrustworthy. He was saying that they needed to meet up, but then she didn't want him to ruin her night. So she just said they could meet up later. And then she's like, oh, did they? Did Blake text him? And then like that wouldn't be the case because Chloe deleted the text, so the cop's like, oh, interesting. What? And then she's like, well, the cop didn't mention it, but I guess Jack would still have that message on his phone. Yeah. She only deleted it from Blake's.
Yeah, if you delete a message, like if you delete like a text, it doesn't just disappear from the other person's phone.
Right. So then Chloe's like, yeah, she had a lot to drink. I was kind of scared for her. And Jack was crazy. She's just saying all this stuff. And like the cop doesn't seem to believe any of it. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, okay, so originally you said you weren't there for Jack's death. Where were you? And then she like is trying to think of it. But then she's like, oh, don't tell Samantha, please. And then the cop looks at her partner and they're both like, ooh, things are getting juicy. And then, so she's like, I met back up with Shane because I didn't want to stop partying. And then she's like, okay, so you didn't talk to Jack at all. And then she's like, yeah, the next time I saw him was in the morning. And then they're like, okay. So it's sort of, they're like, okay, I'm suspicious of you, but there's nothing, we can't arrest you right now, so I guess you could just leave.
Mm-hmm. We have nothing substantial.
Yeah. But then she goes to meet with the mom and daughter and gives them a file of the phone records from the night of the suicide. And then they're saying that they need to wait for the phone company to release the full things, but whatever. Anyway, they suspect Blake of killing him, basically, I guess now. I thought they were doing that, because the cop's just like, you didn't mention that you told Jack that they could meet up moments before his death, and then she sees the text, and she's like, I did not text him that. Mm. And they're like, but this is your phone number, isn't it? And she's like, yeah, but I didn't. And then they're like, that's not necessary. All the text messages are here, deleted or not. And she's like, so the mom's like, she didn't kill her. What are you... And then the mom's looking suspicious because she's like, what's going on?
Yeah,
and Blake is saying, like, I didn't see him. We didn't talk. And then they're like, okay, do you know who could have accessed your phone? I want you to call me if you can think of anything else, but we're going to stay in touch because I think you're a murderer. And then that's fine. But then we find out that for her, we already know she killed Jack, but whatever. Yeah. She's been making out with one of the 25-year-olds just to get him to, like, support her alibi.
Yes, of course. You see, he is a male. You know, that is a male character in a Lifetime movie. Therefore, his only weakness is smooches from a lady.
Right.
And then he's just under her spell.
Yeah. We also find out that she's been sending fake messages to the mom from whoever's supposed to have been, well, like, I guess from her parents who allegedly exist. Mm-hmm. And she's like, oh, Chloe probably didn't tell you, but it's actually going to be her birthday. So you should do something special for her 18th birthday. And then the mom's like, okay.
Sure.
Also, we see more flashbacks of her missing her mom, and she has, like, nightmares of the murder and stuff or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then the mom's like, oh, well, I talked to your parents and they said it was your birthday. And then she was like, oh, did they miss me? And she's like, yeah, of course they do. I don't have the same relationship that you have with Blake. They wanted to get me out of there because of their exchange program. They wanted to get rid of me. And then the mom's like, oh, wow, I don't know what I just unpacked.
Yeah, I don't know what can of worms I just touched, but it just kind of sprung open, and now I'm scared.
But now Blake's ready to go back to school. They had a nice talk, and so she's like, oh, wow, that's great. It's your birthday, and you helped Blake out instead. And then Chloe's like, yeah, I guess it is my birthday. And everyone's so happy. They're making it all about Chloe now. And now, this is where, like, things sort of start to, like, unravel. Like, we had 2 murders pretty quickly next to each other.
Yeah.
And we don't really have any for a while. But they're having, like, this little birthday dinner. And, it's just, they're having this birthday dinner. It's just Blake, Chloe, the mom, and Scott. And Chloe's starting to plant seeds, like, okay, now it's time to get rid of this guy.
Hold on. Who is Scott?
Scott, that's his name. He is the realtor lawyer guy.
Oh, okay. Coffee guy. Coffee guy. Okay, yeah, sorry. I didn't know his name because I don't care for his name.
Yeah, I think it just came back to me in a flash, actually.
Yeah, and then you just decided to just say it since you knew it, yeah.
I revealed it. But yeah, so then this is the most convoluted plan to get him out of the picture. Mm-hmm. So she asks him she does 2 things. She takes off her panties.
She, in this case, being Chloe. Yeah, okay.
Yes. She takes off her panties and then slips them into his jacket.
Oh, good.
Yeah. But she also asks him if they can take a picture together on his phone because she just wants to remember this moment.
Why on his phone?
Yeah, I don't know.
Like, that's what I'm like. I would be like, why on my phone? Why not? You want the picture?
Well, because she's like, I don't have it on me. And then he's like, oh, okay. And then he's like, okay. He was ready to leave. He was also sort of over her because he, like, I don't really know you. I'm just dating the woman housing you. I'm dating the
woman whose house you are staying at. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you. I don't care. I have no reason to care.
And then she gives him his phone. So then he gives her his phone unlocked so she can go to the corner and take this sultry picture of herself on his phone. And then she deletes it really quick. And then she sends the picture that they took. She sends both pictures to herself, but she makes sure to delete the sultry picture from his phone. Mm-hmm. And then she tells Samantha, the mom, that he's a creep. And, okay, I'm trying to figure out, like, the best... Okay, well, things worked out. So she's really happy with Scott right now because her whole company is saved, or her cafe is saved. They completely backed down on
we in the background, the court stuff and the cases and the legal stuff. Hooray, we did it.
Yeah.
I guess in that sense the streams kind of cross in the sense that he as a character is relevant to the main plot for like a split second.
Yeah, but not now. Like, this is the one thing. As soon as they bring stuff up, they wrap it up real quick. So kind of things keep moving along. But this is kind of where it starts to drag because it's not like fun murders. Mm-hmm. I guess. It's kind of hard to top bug spray in a pool and
just
dunking on an old lady.
Just brazen murder. Brazen murder in broad daylight. At the front of a library, presumably where people are.
Yeah, and nobody saw anyone with her.
Weird.
Yeah. So now back at home, everyone's like happy, and Blake's like, ooh, I got first dibs on the shower. So now that leaves them alone. And she's like, so you and Scott seem like awfully serious, huh? And she's like, yeah, he's great. I like him a lot. And then she's like, well, he is a creep to me because he asked for my panties and demanded them. And he also took a sultry picture of me to keep on his phone. So I don't know how to tell you all this.
But I just did.
Yeah, basically. And then, because first she's just like, I think there's been a mistake. And she's like, he made me take this photo. I'm so sorry. It was embarrassing. Like, I don't know. And she's like, what? And so then she shows the picture. Now, granted, like, it looks kind of it's a weird picture to make a teen girl take for sure. Mm-hmm. Then... then she says, last night I was brave enough to tell him to stop, and I wanted to just tell you the truth and everything, and he begged me not to. He said the only way he would stop was if I gave him my panties. Mm-hmm. So, okay, I just want to let that sink in.
Yeah, no, it's sinking.
Okay. So... then she goes to confront Scott, and she's mad, and she's like, shows him the picture. He's like, I've never seen that before. I really don't know how that got on my phone. And then she's like, well, Chloe told me everything. He's like, what are you talking about? And then she looks at his jacket pocket, which this is a big leap. If he did ask for them, why would they still be in the coat pocket?
Why would he still have them on him? Presumably the whole...
They were used!
Yeah, presumably also the whole thing was, not, 2 seconds ago, presumably.
Yeah.
So, at some point, he must have been home, where he probably would have left them.
it's real contrived, honestly, that...
Why couldn't she have just killed him? Come on.
Yeah.
You've killed, 3 people before so far that we know of.
Yeah. But, as if it wasn't bad enough that she just ended things with her boyfriend, the cop lady calls again and is like, okay, look, so we found out that he had strychnine in his blood system. I'm assuming that was in the bug spray.
Yeah.
Strychnine? Okay. Yeah. Whatever it was called, some chemical. You said it.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming that's from the bug spray. They're like, that's why we know it wasn't a wasn't a suicide.
Yeah, because why would he spray himself with that in the face?
Right. And so then so she's like, so the cop's like, you got to bring him back to the
station?
The station.
Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta bring her back to the station. And then she's like, I don't know where my old sleeping pills are. Did you take them to Chloe? And then she's like, oh, I didn't. And then she's like, okay, because when Jack died, I think I was drugged. Which is like, what?
Yeah, I mean...
And then
I guess she finally put together the weird sleepiness with the bonking headache and all that.
Yeah, so then she's like, okay, but this is serious because I think... Which, it's interesting that she assumes they drugged her with her own sleeping pills.
Yeah, that is kind of weird. Like, that...
But I guess...
Yeah.
I guess she was just trying to, check. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily the implication that they used the drugs to get it. But either way, so then Chloe is not taking this seriously. She's just gaslighting her. You sound almost as crazy as Jack. And she's like, stop it. That's not funny. I'm not crazy. What if I'm pretty sure I was drugged that night that Jack died. What if one of those guys slipped something? And then she's like, well, if you hadn't fallen asleep, they could have really slipped you something. And I'm like, okay, I just gave you guys credit.
I mean, to continue giving the credit, the guys didn't do that.
They didn't do that, but it's still weird that Chloe's.
But now
joking.
Chloe is being the gross one here.
So then,
which she is the crazy murderer. So, I guess fair? Question mark. I don't know.
So yeah, no, you're so anyway. Now Blake is talking to her mom. And she's like, I think something's wrong with Chloe. I think we need to give her back to Britain because she's being.
we need to give her back to Britain. Britain needs to take this one back. We don't want this.
And she says
Can we get a functional one that doesn't commit murder?
or something's off. Because then she's like, my sleeping pills are missing and I think I was drugged. And then which I'm like, that's good that you just told your mom straight away. So then the mom just texts the email, but it just goes straight to Samantha. And then she's like, I have to end this early. We're just having a compatibility issue. She can't stay here. And then Blake's like, okay, good. Which I'm like, honestly, I think it's good that as soon as she got a red flag, she's like, it's time for her to go. She doesn't even give her a second chance, really. So then Blake is...
Yeah, that's a bit weird.
Okay. Do you know anything about chloroform as a chemical guy?
A little bit.
So, I don't know. It's literally a bottle in big text that just says chloroform.
I mean, you'd find that in a lab.
Okay, well, Chloe's just got that.
In a lab where they use chloroform for experiments, you might find a big. Was it a brown?
No, it was a clear bottle with a white label.
Okay, that's kind of weird. Generally you keep chemicals in a brown bottle because of chemicals. I forget if chloroform is, but a lot of chemicals are light sensitive. So if they are exposed to light, they will degrade. Oh. So in order to prevent that, you generally keep them in dark tinted, brown tinted bottles to prevent UV from causing degradation in the chemicals. I forget if I don't think chloroform does, but still. it's just a thing you do with most chemicals because that's just easier. So then, I don't know, the fact that it's a clear bottle, it kind of strikes me personally as weird, but yeah.
No, that's fair. So
anyway.
Yeah, she's just packed a bag with like chloroform and different stuff like that, and the mom and the last thing she said, she watched Blake sleep and she was like, no one comes between me and my mum, because she's British.
I got it.
And then Chloe's like comes downstairs. She's like, oh, I'm ready for school. Are you guys ready to... Then Chloe tells Blake, like, you guys ready to go to school? And she's like, yeah, okay. She kind of looks at her mom like, this is weird. But now the mom is doing some sleuthing, because as soon as she sends the message, she hears a ding, and she goes upstairs and she realizes that she's just been texting Chloe. So who is she? What?
Yeah, like, who have I been speaking to?
So she hears the ding, but before she can verify it, Chloe leaves. And then she's like, okay, that's weird. I'm starting to get suspicious. So then she calls Jack's mom, and she's like, hey, can we talk? Because I think you were right, and I think... first of all...
I think this girl is a poison.
Yeah. Because, she called her after Jack died, because at first she's like, we loved Jack. As, like he was our own at first anyway. But then, now she's meeting with the mom, and the mom's like, the last thing Jack said to me was that she was a fraud. He was adamant. And, he was honest.
I guess he was adamant. It just... seems kind of a weird way to phrase.
Chloe's a fraud. And then just leave. And then she's like...
just runs.
Yeah. And then she's like, I tried to get the cops to look at her, but because of her alibi, they won't even suspect him. And then she's like, now they're going after Blake because she doesn't have an alibi. And then the mom's like, well, what do you want me to do? And she's like, well, I'm trying to get to the bottom of this. It's like the movie's almost over. We got to figure out how
the movie's
evil.
Almost over. We still need to have our big confrontation.
Yeah. So then,
come on, we got to have the plot rolling. We got to do the sleuthing thing, like you said.
Yeah.
Come on.
So then she
get with the program, lady.
Yeah. So then she just goes to the school, and she's like, the police want to frame Blake for Jack's murder. Can we talk? Were you with Chloe that day? And then he's like, what? I gotta go. And she's like, you're lying to the police. That's a felony. You'll lose your scholarship. So you better talk to me, sonny boy. She's got a lot of fire in her step now. The last...
First she had some pep in her step, but now it's all fire.
Yeah. So then...
now her shoes are burning.
Yeah, so then she gets the real story on that, and...
I'm sorry, she bewitched me with her kisses.
But you're also beautiful, so now I'm listening to you. And then she... I think it'd be funny if, one Lifetime movie sort of addressed that, where it's like... Well,
yeah, where every man is just immediately beguiled by any even vaguely attractive woman.
Yeah, she was beautiful and she gave me kisses. You're beautiful. I will.
Here's the truth.
Yeah, kisses? No, you weirdo. What? That's just how I've learned to communicate with women.
It's not my fault. It's all the experience I've had in my life.
Yeah.
That's just how it always worked. I'm sorry. I didn't know that was abnormal.
Yeah, I like the idea of these lifetime men, like it's elementary school, and it's like, okay, remember to dot your I's. Little kiss on the forehead.
Yeah, and that's how they learn.
They do not process it until the smooch connects with their skin. It does not stay in a man brain.
You gotta seal the knowledge. You gotta seal it with a little kiss.
Yeah, that's why they have the expression "seal it with a kiss," because that,
that's how it literally goes in Lifetime land.
So then she's like, okay, great. So she goes to pick up Blake early from school because she's like, we gotta just, I guess, change the locks. Chloe's not coming back in our house. But then it turns out they never showed up for school. And this is where things get, like, not crazy, like, wild, but she finally goes to call the exchange program, and then they're like, there's no Chloe in our system. And then she's like, what? She's been staying with us for months. My calls were always directed to the same person, Savannah.
Oh, I guess it's been months now.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, do you have her identification number? And then they're like, no, she was nice and bubbly. She had a southern accent or something. But then we find out that Chloe had the southern accent because she's driving Blake. We don't really find out immediately, but I'm just going to charge a bit ahead. So Blake is in the car with Chloe. She's been chloroformed. And
that's also a thing, by the way, movies tend to get slightly wrong, is the effect of chloroform on a person, but no, I'm not gonna get into that right now. Just a quick note about that.
Because I'm under the understanding that if you don't immediately wake up from being chloroformed, you are dead, right?
Chloroform is a lot more hazardous to one's health than movies make it seem.
Yeah.
Is the thing.
They seem like it's...
Chloroform is actually really fucking dangerous.
Okay, because I was under the impression that, like, movies make it like chloroform's a little quick sleepy drug.
Oh, you just make it go a little bit of sleep. No, it can have very serious lasting health consequences if you don't die.
Especially because, like, she is not monitoring.
Like, if you get if you actually get like a cloth that has been drenched in chloroform in your face, like that is gonna have some serious effects on you.
Especially because it's like suffocating.
You're not just gonna fall asleep.
They also put it like right over your nose and mouth, so like you're not even breathing in air. You're just breathing in this chemical.
Just breathing in the fumes. Yeah, no, that is no. Don't do that. Let's just say don't do that to people.
Yeah.
It's not just going to make them fall asleep. It can have pretty serious consequences to my understanding.
Yeah, but then, okay, so here's what we've learned. We don't really... So then the mom calls the detective, and she's like, look, Chloe kidnapped my daughter. And then she's like, look, honestly, lady, this doesn't look too good because your daughter was supposed to come in for questioning, and now she's missing. And then she's like, look, I don't care if you're suspicious. My daughter's missing.
Real quick. Mm-hmm. I just looked up the material safety data sheet, or the MSDS for chloroform.
Oh, yeah.
Health hazards. Specific target organ toxicity following repeated exposure, Category 1. Reproductive toxicity, Category 2. Carcinogenicity, or in other words, it can cause cancer, Category 2. Irritant, acute toxicity, oral, dermal, or inhalation, Category 4. Skin irritation, eye irritation, toxic, acute toxicity, oral, dermal, inhalation, Category 3. Yeah, no, that... You don't want this on your skin. You don't want to breathe this. Harmful if swallowed. Causes skin irritation. Causes serious eye irritation. Toxic if inhaled. Suspected of causing cancer. Suspected of damaging fertility or the unborn child.
Oh.
Causes damage to organs through prolonged or repeated exposure.
Okay, so...
Chloroform's harmful.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely getting that from all this.
Yeah, no. Don't. It doesn't just make people fall asleep.
Yeah, so this is if you... Well, hopefully no one was thinking of getting chloroform, but don't.
No, I hope not.
Yeah.
Like that.
Don't
I'm already suspicious in the first place, but I'm just saying.
Yeah.
If you were for some reason considering it, I wouldn't know why. Just don't.
It's like a fast-acting melatonin. No, it's not. Okay, so then the mom contacts the detective and she's like, look, I think Chloe is not who she said she is. She kidnapped my daughter. And the detective's like, honestly, we suspect your daughter and all of a sudden she's missing. This isn't looking too good. And she's like, okay, but there's no record of the exchange. We've just been housing a stranger. You gotta help.
I mean, it would have been a stranger in the first place, but now it's a stranger that has whose background you don't know at all. is the problem. But small potatoes.
And the detective is just not buying it. And then she's like, look, isn't it at least possible so you can like look into it? And she's like, okay, well, maybe it's possible, but we need to like figure it out. We'll do cop stuff. And then she's like, okay, well, whatever. I'm going to just solve this case on my own, with or without your help. Goodbye. And I
mean, movie protagonist, I guess. That's how it goes.
Yeah, I just like that this cop really is over having a job. She's just like, she's got a big case of the Mondays this whole time because she's just not in it. But then, okay, so... I
mean, maybe she was just never expecting to have to solve an actual murder. I don't know.
Yeah, so then she's chloroformed her. The mom messages Scott and she's like, I'm so sorry, I didn't believe you. I think everything's going on. Please help. Chloe isn't who she said she was. I think this has all been a sham. Sorry, I didn't believe you. Thanks for helping me. Whatever. He's like, okay, I'm on my way. We're gonna find her together. Then she has the mom, so then she had the friend text the restaurant, or the mom contacted the friend who like helps with the cafe, and she's like, we need to reset the security and everything? And she's like, I needed to wait for you because look at this. The real Chloe Miller is dead. The handgun and the spare keys from the safe are gone. And she's like, wait, what? Which spare keys? And she's like, the ones for the house, the car, and the cabin. And then the mom is like, oh my God, I remember that conversation we had at the beginning of the movie. That's where they're going. So now she's running to her car again. It's a lot. The one thing I'll say, it's a lot of back and forth. But so they're heading in there, and then this car pulls up, and then we find out that Chloe can do a Southern accent.
Oh no.
So that's who Savannah was, who set up the exchange. Yeah, so there's that. But anyway, this guy...
But...
Oh, yeah?
Why?
I don't know. It's...
Like, that's kind of like the point where I'm at. Like, what was... I guess the only motivation in the first place I can think of, because, Chloe or Rose or whatever the hell her name is, cannot have known beforehand where she would end up, I think. Like, with the fact that she would end up living with a woman who resembles her dead mother.
Yeah.
But, like, so the only motivation I can think of why she wanted to go to America like this was to escape from the fact that she committed a murder over in the UK.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, okay, so here's the thing. This is what I've gathered, and, like, I'm really not totally clear. I'm not sure. I'm thinking that, like, on the exchange site, they, like, list potential families you can stay with. And then she's...
Yeah, families you can sleep with, yeah.
Yes. Freudian slip. So then she saw them and she's like, you look just like my mom. So she apparently started like IMing with Blake, and then that's like how they got connected with this whole thing that way or something.
I guess.
I'm not sure, because they kind of want to play it both ways. But then like she orchestrated the whole thing. I'm really unclear. Yeah. But outside the
it's a mess. Yeah, is what it is.
I mean, we're almost at the end, because we're at the cabin, and then this truck pulls up before she can drag Blake's unconscious body inside the cabin. But then this guy pulls up and he's like, oh, hey, people haven't come here for a while. Where's the usual people? And then she's like, oh, well, I'm Southern here, and we're gonna meet up with some friends. I just got here early. And he's like, oh, well, I could help you with your luggage. And she's like, that won't be necessary. I'm a independent Southern gal. The scene goes on a little longer than it needed to for me.
Okay.
But he's like, oh, well, okay. And then he just leaves. But unfortunately, that gave Blake enough time to try and stumble away. But then Chloe catches her. She's strangling her. The mom shows up and she's like, hey, please cut that. Stop that. And she's like, no, you're going to be mine.
Would you kindly cease and desist strangulating my child?
Yeah. Oh, and while she pulled up, I almost forgot this. She sends the mom a text message that just says, it just says, like, I'm going to the only place I can be happy again. I'm going to die too. Bye. And then the mom's just like, Blake. But, like, I think she knows that this is Chloe's gig. Or maybe she doesn't. I don't know. But then she shows up and she sees that Chloe's strangling her. She's like, please stop. And then there's, like, a bit of a struggle there. The mom ends up getting in the way because Chloe goes for the gun. And then the mom blocks it. She's like, first she wasn't doing the whole feeding into the delusional fantasy thing. She's like, I'm not your mom. Like, I'm sorry about what happened to you, but, like, I'm not your mom. And she's like, no, you are. I just need to make it so you'll always love her more if she's alive. And she gets the gun. And then the mom jumps in front of her and she looks at her. She's like, you wouldn't kill your own mother, would you? And then she drops the gun and she goes through and she's like, ugh, I can't kill my own mom. No. And then they, they thwart her, and then she ends up getting arrested and sent to a psych facility. And then
do we get a little fake like what's it called, a little fake like sequel hook thing?
We do. We get it 8 months later.
Of course we get a fake sequel hook thing. Hell yeah.
So we get a little too. So first we get 8 months later, it's graduation. They're having a little party for for Blake at the cafe, and they're all like, they do a little college dance. It's very silly. And it's all great. Everybody's happy and wonderful. But then we go to the mental hospital. And apparently Chloe, despite being criminally insane or whatever, she's in like a purple jumpsuit. She got to pick her therapist. Somehow, I guess there was like, it's like a dating profile pic, I guess. Because she picked this woman who also has long brown hair. And actually looks more like the actress they cast as the mom than the one who was the mom before.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh, well, I'm so glad you chose me to be your therapist. I think we could make a lot of good progress together. And then she's like, yeah, one thing before we start. Do you mind if I call you Mom? And then we don't get an answer. We just close in on her making this smile like, yep, I didn't learn anything. Credits.
Can I call you Mom? The respect, like most psychiatrists or whatever would say, no.
Yeah, like
at that point, be like, what? No, that's weird. Huh? Okay, you know what? Here, there's a thing to talk about. Tell me about.
Why do you want to call me Mom? Like that's a.
Tell me about your mom.
Let's talk about it.
What was that like?
And I'm like, so I don't think with Lifetime movies they ever really intend to make the second one. I don't know.
Yeah.
Except
I don't think so.
By my doctor, they're gonna keep making those. They won't stop making those. But
they always have to throw the little sequel hook, like the end question mark, like in there. Like they always have to. It's part of the formula, I feel.
Yeah, I just love the idea that like she just did not learn anything from this experience.
I mean, I would imagine that she wouldn't learn anything. I just don't think she would have tried something like tried it again like that brazenly, because she sure as hell didn't do it that brazenly the first time.
Yeah, well, I guess now she's like, I'm behind bars. I got nothing left to lose. I'm just gonna go ham.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I know. Fair enough. When you've got nothing left to lose, all you can do is go ham.
Yeah. So that was Deadly Exchange, and
there was death. There was an exchange.
Yeah.
Title checks out.
Yeah, it was very accurate. Lifetime.
I guess my seal of approval. I'm based on that.
I do appreciate how much Lifetime likes to just. We're going to be really clear with our titles. There's no reason to worry or wonder what's going on.
There's no ambiguity here.
Yeah, which I kind of respect.
We will give you what we're promising.
Yeah, sometimes titles tend to be a little too metaphorical for my taste. Like, I think soon we'll get to the point where Lifetime movie is, I want a mom, so I'm gonna kill everybody to get her.
Yeah, basically.
All right, well,
the title would be more something like the movie where the exchange student attempts to kill everyone around a woman so that woman can now be her new mom.
I think
just who needs a summary or anything, like who needs the back text of like the DVD case?
Well, you could just
just have that be the title.
Yeah, exactly. I'm trying to think of like famous movies and how they could have a better title.
I mean, you can do that with so many movies. Like you just have to think of like, just give this plot. Even better if you give the plot summary like in the worst possible way.
Yeah, like just full of spoiler alerts.
Well, not even that. Like I've seen some, so I need to look them up again, but I have seen like some social media posts where it's just like, explain the plot of X movie badly. Mm-hmm. And just take one of those and make that the title of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
It just works.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for coming to talk about another Lifetime movie.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and thank you guys for listening. Remember, you can listen to this wherever podcasts are available. And you can join our Discord.
Your local podcast vendor.
Yeah. And remember that you're welcome to join our Discord because we like meeting new kind of friends. And on top of that, remember to comment, like, and subscribe because we all need friends. Okay, bye-bye.